Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between mtwNigheEnD and Omnious here on Lost Temple. Now I have tried to adjust my music volume a little bit here. Let me go ahead and turn that down just a little bit more for you guys. So I like having a little bit of background noise. I'm gonna go ahead and return to the game. So we have Omnious spawning over here at the 3 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have mtwNigheEnD spawning as the blue Protoss player at the 12 o'clock position. Now for everyone out there, thank you for writing down your comments. Thank you for giving me some feedback on how to improve. I am trying to watch my catchphrases or my crutch phrases. There's nothing wrong with them, but if I tend to overuse them, then it just becomes a little bit annoying, and I can completely understand that. Now, Omnious looking to just do a standard pylon build, meanwhile back over here, mtwNigheEnD doing the same thing as well, except mtwNigheEnD gonna go more for an early scout. So Peppy the Probe already underway in this red versus blue Protoss versus Protoss mirror match. Now the Protoss versus Protoss mirror match, I've heard it described as being the most fragile out of all of the mirror matches, just because of the way zealots and sentries work in the very early portion of that game. Teching the stalkers is very dangerous, or trying to build stalkers is dangerous, as the other opponent, if they just go for mass zealots and mass stalkers, should be able to overrun a stalker position unless there's some very good use of force field. We now have mtwNigheEnD gonna go ahead and come in with a 13 gateway. However, Omnious has not put down a gateway just quite yet, so perhaps he's going to go for some sort of dual gate rush, just trying to get as many minerals down as he can. So one gateway already down and two gateways now down by Omnious. So a two gate push coming in from on mtwNigheEnD in just a little bit. A little surprised to see this, as generally a single gateway with a cybernetics core and a chrono boosted sentry will be able to block that ramp very easily and prevent any real harassment coming in. mtwNigheEnD now gonna go ahead and head up this ramp and then see in fact that it is gonna be a two gate push, and now it's up to see what mtwNigheEnd's how he's gonna really respond to this. He's gonna drop down another gateway. Yes, he's now gonna drop down another gateway instead, not going for that cybernetics core. And now those zealots that are going to be being built and just trying to walk on out will take some time. Now back over here we can already see that the gateway, the rally point, is straight in the base of mtwNigheEnD. So mtwNigheEnD definitely wants, or Omnious definitely wants to try to do a zealot rush into that base. Omnious has plenty of energy on the Nexus in order to get that very early rush. mtwNigheEnD keeping a probe close by in order to perhaps delay those zealots for just a little bit. Does not look like it's going to work, and now we already have two more chrono boosted zealots now underway. So it's going to be a very strong two gate rush. Taking a look at the armies, we have a 200 army versus a 200 army, but that will quickly change to a 400 versus 200 as these units are once again on the move. Back over here, mtwNigheEnD does not have the chrono boost on his Nexus, so he's not going to be able to produce those last two zealots nearly as quickly. But yeah, I believe that Omnious will not be able to push through on this particular harassment here, as there's three zealots getting in position now. 3 versus 2, not a good fight for Omnious, and Omnious's two gate push is not going to bear any fruit. So tech-wise, not going to be able to do too much with those zealots. Perhaps we'll be able to take down that probe. No, not going to take down that probe either, as Peppy continue to move on out. Army-wise, we have 600 zealots, or 6 zealots for Omnious versus the 5 zealots of mtwNigheEnD. We do in fact have a cybernetics core already coming into play. Back over here, and another cybernetics core being warped in, and now going for double assimilators in order to get that Vespene gas. So warp gate already being researched by mtwNigheEnD. So mtwNigheEnD wanted to get that warp gate research underway in order to perhaps deploy units using that warp gate ability, or trying to go for a robotics bay. Now, since both players have a very large army, I suspect that this game's going to go a little bit longer than that normal early rush. Both players have a fair number of zealots, and now it's really going to determine, the game's going to really depend on what the other player tries to do. Now mtwNigheEnD getting this robotics facility, taking a look at Omnious's base. Omnious does not have a robotics facility yet, now just producing some zealots, not even producing any sentries. What is this building? We finally seen a Stargate, so it's going to be a Stargate from Omnious against the robotics facility of mtwNigheEnD. mtwNigheEnD, unless he does a little bit of scouting with an observer very early, may not have the stalkers in order to try to counter that void ray, or perhaps most likely void rays coming out. Single zealot of mtwNigheEnD trying to head off into that base, perhaps wants to do a little bit of scouting, but those two zealots will be able to force that wee little zealot all the way home. So gonna go ahead and head back home. We now have army-wise and unit overlays. We have 10 zealots versus 6 zealots and 1 sentry. However, Omnious also has more probes. So Omnious has the economic advantage and the army advantage, getting a robotics facility as well. That Stargate is up, but now producing that Void Ray. So Void Ray with that Chrono Boost. Void Rays have been a lot of players, and we're kind of confused on the Void Ray. And if you guys have not seen the interview with Dustin Browder that happened on April 19th, go ahead and check out StarCraft Legacy. This Void Ray now coming in. Blizzard believed that they buffed the Void Ray by making its damage more of a normal damage, or no bonus versus armor, which enables the Void Ray to be able to counter and destroy Marines more easily. Before, the Void Raid had a really difficult time against, say, Hydralisk or Marines, because those Hydralisks and those Marines were able to just take down the Void Raid, and the Void Raid did not get a bonus damage against those light units, only dealing very little damage. However, with the move to a stronger base damage, the Void Rays are now able to take down and focus down Marines, and it's a little bit more of a fair fight. And once the prismatic charge or prismatic core of that Void Ray is online. NightEnD moving around with this observer. Immortals now being produced, so we're going to have 2 Void Rays up in the air, and I do not see any fleet beacons, so I'm not sure if we're going to perhaps get those Void Rays to be able to move more quickly. I do like the fleet beacon. I like the fleet beacon just because it opens up so many tech opportunities. You can continue to pump out Void Rays being a very powerful air-to-air and air-to-ground unit. It also allows you to get those carriers, get that mothership, and also increase the movement speed of the Void Rays. One thing that I don't see very often, though, is the Cybernetics core getting the weapons upgrade. And that's one of those things I don't quite understand why more Protoss players don't go for that weapons upgrade. It's not like the Armory for the Terran players, in that it's difficult to try to build that building. You already have the Cybernetics core. In order to get the weapons upgrade, might as well build it, or might as well research it. Back over here, we now have the Colossus in play, and now the Robotics Bay getting the extended thermal lance range, so that Colossus will have a range of 9. Both players just playing a very big game of Sim City right now. Both players just trying to macro up. We in fact have Omnious with the larger army and the stronger income, 32 harvesters versus 27, and now Omnious taking this natural expansion. So far this game, Omnious has been playing very well, just macroing up a very decent sized army. Zealots and Immortals now moving on out, and we have a couple those Void Rays in the air, and we'll see how that's really going to work. One Zealot getting caught in midfield, quickly getting taken down by this very strong army. And now we have Colossus and Stalkers trying to get into position. Will they be able to fire back? Colossus already does not have that range upgrade yet, only a range of 6, not a range of 9. As the robotics support or robotics bait going to be completed in just a moment, and that second Colossus will be finished being built. So 2 Colossi against 3 Void Rays, 2 Immortals, and a couple Zealots. Those Colossi with that range of 9, however, going to be able to deal a significant damage towards those units. Those Void Rays without that movement speed, not going to be able to get within range of those Stalkers nearly as easily. The Particle Beam, they do in fact have a range of 7 though, trying to use that charge, trying to take down those units. The Stalkers now trying to push in. Both sides having a fairly decent army, except that NightEnD has that high ground advantage. So unless those Void Rays are close by, not going to be able to see onto that high ground. Taking a look at Omnious's point of view, he cannot see onto that high ground, just knows that there are units over here. And now in comes NightEnD with a single observer. Observer, however, going to make it taken down, already down to 25 hit points as it gets pulled back. And now in come these Stalkers, so just fighting a little bit back and forth. The Void Raid, low on hit points, going to start recharging those shields very easily, very quickly. However, NightEnD running off of a 3 warp gates, now just warping in more Zealots and more Stalkers. That one Void Ray finally taking some base hit point damage as these units trying to engage. Zealots now coming into position. However, those Colossus are going to be able to rip through this position and now continue to fight back. This is a very bad fight for Omnious. Omnious getting a little trigger happy, just running headlong into a fortified position of NightEnD. Those Immortals not dealing the damage they really need to, not focusing down the right targets, and down goes this whole entire army. So what a very bad position for Omnious. NightEnD now with a very large army going to be able to perhaps perform a really strong counterattack. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between NightEnD and Omnious here on Lost Temple.